when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Good morning, book clubbers! Hope you're dancing. Hope you're hanging in there. I'm Jeff Cannata. I'm here with Lana Bachynski. Hi, Lana.
Hello, good morning. I feel so redundant every week. Just, one of those things is like, get it on the record button, but great chapters, feeling good, excited to chat about them. Whoo!
So much fun. We're going to dig into chapters 15 and 16 of Toll the Hounds, and lots to talk about. I would like, if you will indulge me, Lana, at the beginning of this episode, just do something personal. I am attempting to raise some money for Providence Cancer Institute. Great organization. I am going to be torturing myself, really. I'm going to be running with a group of guys 200 miles in Portland, Oregon, from Mount Hood to the coast and seaside. 200 miles nonstop. It's a relay over the course of like 36, 38 hours. We don't sleep. It's ridiculous and foolish. Foolish is the word. And yet, for a good cause. So I'm hoping folks that are listening to this might be able to throw some money at this wonderful cause, Providence Cancer Institute. You can go to runjeffrun.com, runjeffrun.com. That will link you to my fundraising page. Any amount that you may be able to spare, $1, $5, $20, whatever it is, will help us get to this goal I have to raise $20,000 with my team. And just give me some motivation when I'm there and it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, pitch black darkness, and I don't want to be doing it anymore. Make me think of you and your donation and all the good that we can possibly put out into the world. runjeffrun.com.
We know organizations like that need all the help they can get right now. So
now more than ever. Yeah.
Love that you're doing it. Love that it's for a great cause. I'll check it out too.
Just trying to get it out in many places as possible, so folks that are hearing this maybe be able to just add a little bit more to the pile, and we can get closer to that goal. I would appreciate it. All right, we always start the show with a non-spoiler topic, and the best of them tend to come from you, our audience. Sent to dlcfeedback@gmail.com or posted in our Discord, which is 5x5DLC on Discord, in the book club threads there. This one does come to our email address, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. It comes from Dusty. Dusty writes, hi, Jeff and Lana. Thank you so much for the DLC Book Club. It has made my reread of Malazan so enjoyable. The energy and laughter you bring to each episode enhance the book so much. For my non-spoiler topic, I was wondering if you have branched out into Romantasy yet. Book Talk seems to have made the Romantasy genre very trendy, and series like ACOTAR, is that an acronym? I don't know. It's all capitalized.
A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yes, you're right. A Court of Thorns. And that's how little I know about Romantasy. I didn't even get the acronym. And Empyrean are mainstays on the bestseller list. That I know is true. As a lifelong epic fantasy fan, I ignored romance books and generally preferred my fantasy with romance only as a tiny side plot. However, after reading several Romantasy books, I've come to really enjoy them. I'm interested to hear your take on the Romantasy genre. As a follow-up question, do you notice a big difference in the quality of romantic scenes written by males versus female writers? Thanks, Dusty. What do you say? You're hip to the lingo.
I'm hip to the lingo. I think that is as actively as far as I go. I think Romantasy has existed in like a tropey way, but it has existed for a long, long time. But I think the only the clever, what is that, portmanteau has existed in my brain, or the common commonplace conversation for like the last couple of years, it feels like to me.
Mm.
I have not, I would say, actively gotten into the Romantasy. I'm familiar with it because tons of people are talking about it. I have read fantasy books that I remember reading and being like, oh, this is surprisingly graphic throughout the book in a way I didn't
Steamy.
expect, but was not unhappy about. So I think that I could get down with it. I know about Akotar because I was traveling with some colleagues once and we all had Kindles. Like, oh, little Kindle crew, this is cute. What are you reading? And I'm like, well, this fantasy series that's blah blah blah, blah, and told my whole story. And I turned to them like, what are you guys reading? And they both went smut. And so they sort of pulled me in and told me all about it. And then I had another colleague of mine gift me the first Akotar book for Christmas this year because she's like, I know that we talked about it. I know you do a book club, but maybe you want to try this out. So I haven't delved in yet. Obviously, I hear so much about it, and it's so people seem to love it so much that I am eager to just see what the hype is about, really. But I've probably heard just as many people being like, about like the writing of the particular like fan favorite novels. And so I don't know, we've talked about the show, I'll read whatever and I'll finish the series. So, once I start, I'll get through it, but I'm not sure if it's going to be, if these particular romantasy novels are going to be my favorite reading experience.
Right. Well, I really like how Dusty frames this because it sounds like Dusty is coming at it from the same place that I tend to come at it, which is like, I'm not interested whatsoever. But then Dusty's like, I liked it. I ended up liking it, which makes me go, I don't know. Maybe I should give it a chance. My own particular flavor of pretense, I guess is the correct word. My own pretentiousness is usually if it's super, super popular, I'm like, because I've been fished in before. I read Hunger Games, unfortunately.
And well, that's the thing about those. It's like it's that story of I like generally thinking about that world that was built, but the writing that gave me the information about the world, I didn't like reading.
Yeah. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, right? Everybody, like what you like, read a book. Hey, we're here to just high five reading. Let it, whatever you read, I don't care what it is. Cooking recipe. As long as you're reading, I think that's awesome. Too few people are reading. We're here to celebrate that. Me personally, I read 50 Shades of Grey. I read Hunger Games. I read Harry Potter. I read like anything that's like the zeitgeist is just all around this. I always pick it up and go, I'm curious. I want to see what like you said, see what all the clamor is about. And rarely am I glad I did. Rarely does it give me what I personally am looking for from the reading experience. But I can't wait to be wrong about that stuff. I'm just so uninterested in this subgenre and suspect it will not be for me. And I think it's, they seem to be churning these things out and they're so like of the flavor of the month and feel you walk into any bookstore right now and it's just Sarah J. Maas everywhere,
and the dragon
that's
one.
Great. What great. If you're digging that, dig it. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but I just, there's so many things I want to read. It's hard to, we've talked a lot about my sort of decision process for how I read things. And it's so full of stress and anxiety because I'm like, I have only so many years of my life to read things and there's no way I can fit it all in, which is like when I spend time reading something that ended up being, not so great. I always feel like, why did I do that?
You gotta subscribe to getting more of your enjoyment of the critique of it. And I feel like that's why no matter what, I'll enjoy reading the books because I will either understand the joy and love that people feel, or I will be able to have interesting arguments with my friends, which sounds like I'm an obnoxious person, but I am not. But I love that debate. I love sort of expressing different opinions and chatting through things. So getting more enjoyment from the critique of media, I recommend it in certain capacities.
But I mean, I like this email saying, "Hey, it's actually good. It's better than I thought it was going to be." And hey, that's great.
And neither of us have read it. We're sort of generally talking. We're not judging yet.
And I don't know. I'm just sort of not. I have not been interested in any moment until reading this email to delve into that, which is a sort of odd thing, because I do like romantic subplots in books. I'm into Murillo and Stani. I'm into, like, I like it when there's, I like reading about Crocus and Chalice and Absalar and all. Like, it is an interesting side of human interaction that is compelling when done well. But when it's like, this book is about that, I always go, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know.
The one thing that I heard about, I think it's the Fourth Wing, maybe it's Aquitar, is that like it is actually a very compelling fantasy book. And then they're having sex, and then it is a compelling fantasy book, and it's like on and off switch, and not like an integrated like tease of emotion or like sort of building it in more. It's like, we wrote this cool fantasy novel, and guess what? They bone.
Yeah, you can have your cake and bone
and have
it too.
Some more cake. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm curious if more of our listeners are on Dusty's side of saying, "Hey, actually give it a shot," or if they're like, "You know what? You're fine," which is what I feel probably.
Yeah. I will say there's that sort of last part of Dusty's question, which is about the quality of the writing, or the difference in the writing when it's a male author or female author. Is that something that you have taken note of or noticed in your time?
I mean, I think Dusty's specifically talking about the quality of romantic scenes, which maybe I'm not exactly.
Yes, the quality of romantic scenes.
Hip to. I think it's much more interesting to hear your take on that, but I don't know. I don't know if I have a strong opinion there.
I mean, I think a good writer is a good writer.
Yeah.
And pretty rarely, I'm honestly pretty rarely like looking up authors a lot before I start reading. I think we all remember early on in the book that you had like listened to a bunch of other podcasts with Steven, and I was like learning facts about him every time we chatted. And then I was like, we're interviewing him. I really should have watched more podcasts about him. I feel like I check to see the author when I notice the writing is of a romantic scene is really bad in a particular way. There's times where you're like, she said what how did you describe her? And then I check the book and I'm like, typical. So I feel like I do notice, but I only notice when that critique has surfaced, and then I'm like, who did this? Who has written this in this way?
Oh, a man.
A classic. Tell me what's heaving. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, interesting. I think it's interesting. It's really a topic we haven't really talked about at all on the show, and I appreciate Dusty for bringing it up. Thank you. If you have other topics you'd like us to delve into, let us know. dlcfeedback@gmail.com. All right. Speaking of delving into, let's delve into these chapters. So spoilers starting now for chapters 15 and 16 of Toll the Hounds. We start chapter 15. A little Harlow.
Little Harlow.
He and Bainsk, I guess is the name, are kind of have made up a little bit. That's a lovely little moment, actually, where it's like, I couldn't stay mad at you, little guy.
Just a couple sweeties in the mines.
You got me whipped, but
I was mad.
I couldn't stay mad at you.
I was so mad, but then I was choking on the toxic gas in the tunnels, and you shared your water, so we're all good, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, and basically, this Venaz character seems like a looming threat, because Bainisk is like, I don't like that Venaz, and Harlow's like, Venaz just likes hurting people. And then Harlow talks about this ghost who will show up later on in our discussion this week. Hinter, that evidently that Gruntle introduced him to, or kind of also saw, and they had this whole conversation about ghosts, and he's like, well, maybe is my dad a ghost? And I was like, oh, little Harlow. Is my dad a ghost out there looking for me?
Yeah,
waiting?
I'm going to keep that hope alive, even though I did hear my aunts and uncles say horrible things as though he weren't dead, but maybe just a bad man. But I'll like to think he's a ghost looking over me. Maybe he's here right now.
It's just so heartbreaking. I love all these Harlow scenes. It's just so perfectly
naive.
That's the word I was looking for. Yes. Little naive little guy, little 6-year-old Harlow. As a father of a 6-year-old right now, it's very poignant for me. All right. So then we head over to Cruel's bar, and we check in on our recovering Malazans, our former bridge burners. Blend is recovering. Can't get any healing anymore because Mallet's dead. So it's more like a traditional, physician would, they call him a cutter, not cutter, but a cutter.
I do like that it's like he has limited magic. So whatever like the deepest bleeding is that would probably have required greater technology to solve, he can do just a little bit. But then the rest is like, get that needle and thread, baby.
Yeah.
We got to sew you up.
I love how, the physical medicine of our real world is like plan B. I guess we have to actually suture you. And we have some lovely, I think, introspection here with Blend saying, these hardened soldiers survived so much, all these wars, all these battles. They managed to get to retirement and then cut down in a bar. Just that irony is bleak, sad. Solara comes in, having cooked for the folks, comes in with Juiker, and they talk a little bit about her tab. Just have to pay my tab. No, it doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters anymore. And they have this really interesting interaction. I just thought was so jarring and like, man, the Blend saying, or Solara saying, hey, Picker is freaking out because she almost lost you. And Blend being like, I ain't down with any of that weak garbage.
Yeah.
She's not going to be weak on my watch. We're not weak.
We're not weak, but it's this, they clearly have this close bond and this romantic
I think there's a romantic element to it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But there's a semi-denial of the strength of that bond here as well. In that soldiers got to be strong. We're putting on this strong face, and we have things that we have to do. So like get it together. And it is like heartbreaking and powerful in that way of them like trying to reach out to that time where they would have the strength to get through this, but also in that same sort of heartbeat is sort of putting a shield of denial on something that clearly so powerfully exists. And we've seen them in the bar being sweet and jokey and fawning and pawing at each other in a way. And so it just feels like intensely sad in like how physically hurt Blend is, how emotionally hurt they both are, and the possible toll on the relationship.
Yeah. And this idea of like going soft, and we're not, they came in here and smacked us down, and were we going to just take that? We're just going to cry in our soup? No, I'm not going to do that. And you know what? Her doing that makes her less attractive to me. Like that line was the one I was like, oof.
To me, that was a bar, but I read that as Blend being like, what do I have, like knowing Picker so well, of being like, I have to know the right thing to say right now that's going to get her through this.
Yeah.
And so it was like, tell her that it would be more, you could hear her even workshopping the sentence that she's like, Solara, tell Picker this.
Yeah.
And she thinks of the thing that will drive Picker the hardest. And it's being like, I'm not going to find you as attractive if you don't get it together. It doesn't seem like an intentional barb of like, she's actually mad. It seems like trying to find the way to
Tough
get through
love.
this. And the way that she's finding to get through this happens to be something that is a barb.
Yeah. Powerful stuff, though, I thought. And then we head over, we check in with Picker, who's looking at the segula that are in the casks. They've kind of broken out a bunch of them, 12 in all, 3 women, 9 men. They muse on this culture, this warrior duelist culture. I thought really, I mean, typical Erikson thinking through all the ramifications of a fantastical culture that he's invented, you know, this notion of, well, if they're a duelist culture and it's dueling to the death, it's basically like they're at war all the time. There's just a culling of young, capable bodies. Basically, it's just the entire society is just losing a portion of their offspring, like you might in a periodic war, except they're doing it all the time. And like the position that puts women in specifically as breeders, you know, as population insurers.
Control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also really liked that and thought that was a great little, it's just a snapshot of being like, yeah, probably. Huh.
Yeah. Messed up. But I'm so curious where this whole pickled segula thing is going. You know, like I have no concept of what that could mean. And it seems like this looming, you know, we get these kind of discussions of what the ramifications are. Like, why? What's going on? What is this? What's this about? And I am so interested to hear the payoff for this one.
Yeah, and especially the location in like this Cruel's temple, the relationship between the god and them. Is it related? Is everything? I mean, I have to be like, everything's connected. I got, you know, my red yarn board here, but I think it's very possible that it's like, yeah, that the bar ordered it and whatever happened.
Yeah. So Picker goes over to Ansi, and they kind of hatch a plan to go and kill them some assassins. They're both pissed off. They both want action. And they're trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do? And they decide, hey, you know who would actually know what to do? Is our old buddy Gnoz. Gnoz knows.
Gnoz knows what to do.
So how can we find him? Well, last time when we were all retiring, when we all were presumed dead, we all went to, you know, launch a small business. An old Perrin over here, he went off into that creepy house down the street.
I'm sure it's fine. They're probably friendly. We'll just knock on the door.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
So they walk off toward the Finnest house behind Cole's estate. And on the way, Ansi's like, man, I do stupid things. I bet my younger self would think I'm stupid. And he envisions his younger self still having this big mustache. Just a hilarious scene.
I picture it almost like when you're in a movie and they're like, here's the plan. And then it cuts away to like an animated, we sneak up on the Finnest house. It's like him as a 10-year-old with a big mustache, animated like deet, 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 deet.
So great. So they arrive at the Finnest house. And like you said, what's the plan? Oh, we'll just knockity knock knock, you know? We're at Boo Radley's house.
Stay on the path. We're not going to get trapped in any of the roots that'll kill us.
It's going to be fine.
Things are normal here.
It's fine. Maybe Perrin is inside and he'll just welcome us in. And what happens is even funnier.
I pulled a big chunk of this as my favorite sentence.
It's so great. My headcanon, I know that it wasn't explicitly described like this, but my headcanon is that the door creaks open and Raced is there in one of those like frilly aprons, like, oh, hello, I was just tidying up.
Oh,
hello,
company.
welcome to Raced's house.
You're not like welcome here, but you can come in. He's
so funny,
so sassy, just having his time, being the master of the house, housekeeper, house protector, and duster.
I love that he is introduced in Gardens of the Moon as this ultimate threat. I mean, I remember even saying this, I think, on one of our first episodes, was I think of Raced as like Godzilla emerging from the water and heading toward Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
He's marching toward Darujhistan, smashing bad things are coming. That guy is now like domesticated, like just hanging out at the house, just, being, as you said,
making
sassy,
the tea,
unhelpful, just kind of wry and hilarious.
But, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
So good. So, Race is like, they're like, hey, can we get a message to Gano's parent? And Race is like, I don't know how to do that.
He's like, I don't know, can you or may you?
Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, what else can we do? And he's like, have you tried murdering all of them? And they're like, that seems wildly inefficient and difficult to pull off. And he's like, okay. Well, have you tried contacting Gano's parent? And they're like, that's why we came here. It's like, who you should really talk to? And they're like,
this guy, you are a sad, lonely man, and you're just here to mess with us. Just make it so, please, sir.
So funny. So he takes them to the second floor where there's these like paintings of the deck of dragons. He's like, okay, all you gotta do, think about Perrin, think about him. Little quick safety tip. Quick little EULA that I need you to sign. If you don't do it right, you're gonna go insane. Your brain is gonna stop functioning. You're gonna lose your soul, and it's gonna be bad.
A soul severed from your body. Standard deck of dragons in a giant freaky house stuff.
Yada yada yada. We are not responsible for any potential loss of.
If you are too weak to do this, that's on you. Standard language. You get it.
So Picker's like, I'm in. Let's do this. No worries. No problem.
I love how quickly this happens. So Picker's like, yeah, okay, I got it. I can picture him. And I can picture his actually not so unpleasant face.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of like, and has like this little mental, like pulls his card basically in her mind in the deck of dragons. There's a little communication that he's like, talk to Krupp, basically. And
he's like, hilarious. It's like, it feels to me like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope.
Yeah.
And he's like, super busy right now.
Yes, yeah.
Go talk to this guy or also that guy. Darujistan's gonna be fine. I got like a 6:00 lunch thing. I gotta go.
6:00 lunch thing.
I know that was stupid. I didn't even make any sense. But
I love it. That he's super busy doing something. It's like when we talked to Quick Ben that one time, and it's like, you're bleeding out. Where are you? And then he's just gone.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, what I understood from that was talk to Krupp, and now I'm lost. And she seems like it's very intense and like spooky. She's in this like soul world of the deck of dragons. So her mind's lost to the space, so she's trying to claw her way back. But then it just cuts out to Race, and he's like, well, I told her she knew. So bummer. Yeah. Anyway, get this body out of here. Just like wraps it up so instantly, drag the body out, and like the next time we see them, they are just back at the Phoenix Inn. They're left the house. Race was like, do it. If you're weak, you won't come back. And I just picture on the other side, it's like literally 1 second later, and he's like, yeah, she didn't do it. Anyway.
Yeah, she didn't do it. She was weak. She didn't come back. Also, can I have a cat?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That's the The best part is that she's literally lost her mind. Her gone to oblivion. She's attacked by some sort of demon thing in this realm, and then saved by what I think is Trake, because it was like, thank you for carrying my torques. Which is the torques that were given to Gruntle, right?
Yeah, you're right. I totally forgot very important details in there.
But then she comes back and Race is like, yes, her brain is putty now. Also, can I have a little kitty cat because I want a kitty cat friend?
A little white cat, please. Very specifically. You owe me.
It needs to be dead.
Because of what I let your friend do here. You owe me.
Needs to be dead. And also, can it be white and cuddly? Hilarious. Hilarious. So we cut over to Baruch, back to Baruch's house, and he's talking to the aforementioned Hinter, the ghost.
We haven't met Hinter before.
Not that I'm aware of. But now Hunter's all of a sudden very important.
Yeah. Well, I imagine like there's a lot of ghosts. I'm trying to picture if there's somebody that I can think of that we would know that Hinter would be, but I couldn't bring anything to mind through this.
I think he's just like an ancient ghost that knows stuff about the city. And he's like, Baruch is like, I need hints as to what's going on.
He's like, that's why they call me Hinter.
I'm going to get the Hinter, the one who hints.
That's such a silly joke.
And he's like, what's going on? And Hinter's like, I seen some stuff. I seen those ladies, Lady Spite and Lady Envy. They're here. I also know that the high priest of the crippled god is in an abandoned temple right now. And I have not seen Vorkin, but I know Vorkin's out.
Is this
murdering people, or had murdered people?
Is this where he's like, tyrants are coming, dog. Tyrants are coming. Yeah. Or is that later?
Well, Baruch is like, you're in danger, Hinter. I'm going to have somebody watch over you.
Yeah.
And Hinter's like, oh, sweet. A bodyguard? Like, killer. Awesome. Who is it going to be? And he's like, my little demon pet. And Hinter's like, oh, Chilbeus? No. No. That one? That's the
that
one?
guy?
Oh, okay.
I guess he's chill.
That's slobbery one? I guess he's chill. I don't have any bias to hate him.
I am getting like Omto's Falak energy from this crew. Chilbeus, Hinterlands. I've got like little icy edges around this. And
I like it. I like it. Interesting.
Yeah. And then there's like all this Jaghood talk that I'm like, something's going on. Something's a brewing. And not just because we know that there is.
Baruch heads home and he's like, man, I remember that moment when Vorkin, right after she got out of the Finnest house, came and visited me. And we had this whole conversation about her saying, hey, something's coming. This is that moment you're talking about. Something's coming. Something bad's coming. And also, BT Dubs, sorry, I tried to murder you.
It's
but
interesting
Baruch's like,
because...
hey, is that why you sent your daughter away?
Yeah.
I figured when I read that, you know what I thought in my head, Lana? I thought Lana's going to have a theory as to who that daughter is.
I have two, and they have the same name.
Absalar and Absalar?
Yeah. Because people talk about Vorkin. I thought this was interesting because people are like, Vorkin's out. Oh my God, Vorkin's out.
Yeah.
And I was like, Vorkin's a baddie? I thought Vorkin was generally doing things that seemed aligned with.
Vorkin tried to kill Baruch and everybody in the council. And then remember, like, Crocus threw a brick at her head and stopped her. And then Ralik found her and dragged her into the Finnest house so she wouldn't die.
Right. I think it was just that Ralik saved her that I was like, she must have something good that we like. Good being aligned with people that I seem to be aligned with who are often on different sides. She seemed to have some shred of like importance to people that her escaping people talked about her with like a fearful reverence, almost like she was godlike. So I'm like, is she something beyond what I thought she was originally?
Well, I think she's, because when you're the head of the Assassin's Guild, I think you have to be a real badass.
Yeah, that
and I get the sense that she has some magics too. About her.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that moment. I don't remember if it's right here or there's one section where I think it's Baruch who's musing on the fact that people who've gone into the Finnish house tend to come out changed, something like that. And he thinks that, and so, she says here, like, I don't even care about the Assassin's Guild anymore. I'm not into that. There's bigger fish to fry now. And it feels like maybe she was privy to something while she was passed out in the Azath house,
Yeah. And that was one of the things that also made me be like, oh, this Jacob tyrant who currently is brewing tea and has this little apron on and wants a little cat pet. Like, what would she be privy to in this house?
Right.
And then saying tyrant so many times. Maybe it's just a big red herring, but something's going on.
Yeah, something's definitely going on.
Yeah.
Something's also going on with Lady Envy because we have the next scene where Fisher is like, well, you can't tell by the way I use my poems. I'm a cool bard. He walks in and it's like, Lady Envy found a lover.
And
speaking
it's like,
of romantasy.
And Fisher, he's like, I'm not a young man, but I still got it.
Still got it. Yeah. So Fisher and Lady Envy are hooking up. Then we, speaking of hooking up, to Sarah, back at Torvald Nom's house, Tessera has a dream that she's pregnant. She tells Torvald about it, and he's like, well, I'm glad that was just a dream.
I like that he's like, aren't you glad that was just a dream? It was actually a reason. And she's like, well, I'm indifferent, but you seem pretty happy. And he's like, think of all the pain you could have been in. Think of all the chores you could have been doing. And now you get to live your life. Must be great. Anyway, bye.
Anyway, off to work. Bye. So Torvald leaves. Tessera's like, goes in her backyard.
Oh, well, first Torvald's like, anyway, I'm sorry I'm so like intense about work. I just really feel like something's wrong, but I don't know what. And then Tessera's like, babe, you're crazy. Get out there. Have a great day. And then she's like, no, Torvald's gut sense is almost always right. We got to look into this right now.
Right. So she digs up her deck of dragons and does a reading, which was another one of those moments where I'm like, this is all going to make sense the second time I read these novels.
Yeah.
And I think that the real takeaway here though, that she sees the end of Darujhistan, which is a big deal. She says, I see my city's end. And then she goes over to the floorboards, puts the deck of dragons away, goes over the floorboards, digs up Torvald's little hidey hole, and finds some blue Moranth munitions.
Magic.
A 12-pack.
Bespelled munitions.
Yes, we have not seen that. It's either been magic or sort of mundane artillery. And these, get you a 12-pack that do both.
I like that she's like, why would somebody make this? And I'm like, because it's badass. It probably does a lot of stuff. Lady, it's cool.
Because they can?
It's going to be devastating whenever we see it put to use.
Yeah. So then we're back with Krupp in Phoenix's inn. And he had just had a meeting with Scorch and Lef. They Scorch and left.
The most horrifying part of Torvald's job is that Scorch and Lef are taking it seriously.
Yeah. So great.
I love taking it seriously as waking up in the morning, slamming back a pint, and heading out the door to work.
Yeah.
That's ready to go, ready to take on the day.
So true. Torvald comes in, sits down, and Mies comes over and says, hey, Torvald, your cousin Rallick wants to see you. And Torvald's like, I don't think that's a good idea. I did something very bad. He probably wants to murder me.
He's like, why do you think I left? You think I left for funsies? No, it's because he wants to kill me.
Yeah. And Krupp's like, buddy, no worries. Krupp will make it better. I'm going to smooth out all those rough edges. It'll be fine.
Well, I just love that he's like, okay, Krupp, then you talk to him if it's not such a danger. And Krupp's like, I can't for very compelling reasons that you're imagining in your head right now.
Krupp is the best, is the greatest. Every Krupp moment is the best moment.
Gold.
But I also love how he's like, also, those blue Moran things that you have stuffed in your floorboards. And like Torval's like, what? He's like, did I say something? What? No,
He's
me? I didn't. Who? What?
You talked about it. You just said it like 1 second before I did. You said, talk to Rallick, and also I've got these munitions. You said it. That's how I know it, is because you told me.
There is something just so structurally beautiful to me about Krupp as the narrator, narrating to Sarah going to the Blue Moranth, and then that like seeping into his actual conversation in real time. Mm-hmm. It's just like there's something so brilliant about that I just had to tip my hat. I was like, that is what a cool conceit, It's
brilliant, and it makes you wonder, because when Tessera's going and digging around for Torvald's stuff, it's not in Krupp voice. It's normal narrator voice. And so that connection point, you're like, is it just because Krupp has eyes on the city? He's, the eel knowing Darujhistan specifically, or is he the narrator all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Clearly he, we've seen these moments where he just kind of has this bird's eye view of every little thing. And like, oh, look at this couple having this issue, and look at this guy beating people up in the alley, and look at all these. He clearly has sort of a preternatural sense of what's going on and is conveying it to us, the readers. And then it's like, oh, he actually has this in the moment as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, was that a flub, or was that him like prodding Torvald in a very specific way to get him to do something he wanted to do?
I'm basically at this point assuming that Krupp is like, ain't no mistakes with that boy.
Right. Yes, I agree 100%. He's the eel, baby.
Oh, he too slippery to make a mistake like that. Ooh.
Yeah, so good. All right, then we're, I think this is the perfect week to talk about Romantasy, because we get a little sexy time with Crocus and Chalice.
Not so much romantic.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's sex, but it's,
but it's a little.
Yeah.
Reading it, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, a little self-destructive,
described as stabbing yourself over and over again. I'm like, that's the least sexy way I could imagine describing that.
Yeah. But I love Crocus's perspective on this is like, I'm gonna do it.
You think I'm not gonna do it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna not do it. Like, come on, I'm doing it. But like, am I enjoying it?
I think it's like, obviously I'm gonna do it. Obviously I'll see her again, and that's why Absolar will never love me.
Dude, the way I love this scene in so many ways, because it's just such a beautiful insight into these two very damaged people. But the way it ebbs and flows, and like they actually have a real kind of vicious fight, because he's not giving her what she wants out of this, and she's like, screw this guy, and she's like, you know what, screw you. All right, same time tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, I'll be here. Okay. Also, why am I doing this? It's so great that they're still doing it.
It's great, but there's also, because of how it's all woven together, and because it's not particularly romantic or sexy or like affectionate feeling.
Yeah.
It also weirdly feels like, I don't know, like this weird hookup that you regret, that you're like, we're kind of we have a situationship that we're in.
Yeah.
Do I like him? Not really.
Right.
But like, and every time they talk, I'm like, this isn't what. And then the distance that he has, where Crocus is actually so self-aware of like his own sort of stewingness, and Chalice is the one who's like naive but like trying to maintain control. It's so human feeling in how deeply imperfect in every way that it is.
That's the perfect way to describe it. It's so human feeling that this is like really self-destructive for both of them. They're both, and they both aware of it. Like, this isn't good for me, and this isn't good for me. Are we doing this again tomorrow? Absolutely. See you then.
Yeah.
You know, like that.
And just flavors of it. One is like a semi-denial, trying to like stay as like the upper crust hottie. Like there's like sort of class and stature, and I'm not coming up with the right word, but like appearance of like how I'm supposed to be perceived, sort of roped into it, like a insecurity, like deep insecurity embedded in it. It's so nuanced and very,
I know, it's
grounding,
just spectacular writing, just amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, this then we're sort of in Chalice's head, and she is realizing things about her husband of like, oh, you know, even his like, you know, lending me out to other people for physical pleasure is sort of a power trip for him. And so this is like the first person that I've had sex with that isn't part of his plan. And so that's the most, it's not even that I'm, you know, being unfaithful. It's that he's not in control of it.
Yeah.
That is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that insight. And then her being like, hey, you know, if he finds out, he's going to kill you. And thinking to herself, like, I'm going to just show up back. He's not even going to kill this dude in a way that would be normal. He's going to do it in a way where I'm just going to show up here and I'm going to see his bloody corpse so as to be traumatizing to me and just to demonstrate how he can be anywhere and do anything and has complete power.
The scene of the dinner of Chalice and the two sort of crony guys before, and that feeling that once one guy left and the other guy's like, anything for you, Chalice, kind of thing. That feels like a moment of agency for Chalice to be like, this is my freedom. I'm choosing this.
Right.
And then this moment of introspection being like, even the things that I feel like I'm choosing are under the power, under the control, the intent of my husband.
Yeah.
It's so...
But then the realization that, oh, Crocus, now Cutter, has become a dangerous man.
Yeah.
And maybe I can use that. So
Yeah.
maybe I can do sort of what Gorlas does, manipulate people, get him to do what I want and get him to kill my husband. And I feel like that's where we're headed. Really cool.
I feel like that's where we're headed, but isn't Cutter also like, you can't manipulate me, lady. I see right through you. There's like this, all of her ideas of what she could possibly do. I'm kind of like, I don't know if any of that's going to work. And if it does,
I agree. I don't think it's going to play out the way she wants it to. And it's going to probably play out in an unexpected way for us as readers. But I love that that's the next step she sees is, I'm going to get this guy to murder my husband.
Yeah. And her even thoughts about like, how many people would I destroy for my own freedom?
Yeah.
Is something that even she sees what she would, like the things that she could possibly be doing to Cutter.
What have I become?
Like, what have I become and where will I go just to find my freedom?
It's so rad because Chalice and Crocus are in their own like Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
It's just really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next scene starts with a punch. Berthal punching this guild member who's come to collect payment. He's like, screw you, I'm not paying.
He's like, very interesting that you think you can collect payment from me while still trying to deny my ability to do business here.
Yeah.
The second you approve the first one, I'll be so happy to make a payment. But until then,
here's my payment. And I got more payments coming. Here's my rent and my lease payment. That was terrible.
I was trying to be like, I don't know what the names of the fists, but come back for the next installment.
The down payment and the
Mortgage.
Anyway, pretty cool. Then we're introduced to a new nom. We got nom nom noms. I love nom nom noms.
Noms on noms.
Noms on noms on noms. Distant relative to Rallick and Torvald. It's Bellum Nom, 15-year-old, gifted in the art of swordsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
A student at Stani Menakis's school. Stani not interested in teaching anymore. Murillo is teaching Bellum. This is just another fantastic scene. Just a fantastic scene. Bellum is like, this. He's just so instantly a three-dimensional character. Bellum, we've never met him before. I just know this kid, the sort of confident young prodigy kid who, I was like, teach me how to put my sword tip through a tiny ring.
But also that combination with with enough family fortune that he can sort of get anything he wants, and the naiveness that comes with that of being like, I'm going to learn how to do this trick, and Murillo being like, yeah, that'll be a cool trick, and not what you need, and
it's a waste of your time. I'm not going to do that on school time. He's like, all right, well, I'll teach myself on my own time.
Yeah. Oof, like it.
Cool kid. I mean, cool character. Like, I love, like I said, just so instantly I know all about this dude.
Yeah.
What type of person he is.
And the other interesting part here is how naturally it feels to slip into this scene after two sort of aside scenes developing Murillo and Stani's relationship. So Murillo also being like, Stani's not here. Stani is like so beat up about her kid that she effectively abandoned, but didn't really abandon, but tried to send payments to in a misguided way. Losing Harlow has just destroyed her. She's that was like the last straw for sort of her emotional sanity around that relationship. And so she is fully retreated and sort of emerges in this moment. We get the sense that it's been a minute since she's sort of even been out on the grounds, and all of it had happened off scene. Yeah,
you're right. We mentioned it last week. I think the only thing we've been getting is the sort of these Krupp narrative check-ins with them, but not actual scenes. And here's the scene. And you're right. It's so brilliant. There's so much brilliant about it. One of which is, you talk about her having not emerged. One line in there that I thought was so amazing where he's like, oh, she's hungover. A brief moment of sobriety in what was like her being hungover is amazing because it means she's not drunk right at the exact moment.
Yeah.
Which is like amazing. The other thing is this just so illustrative notion of her talking about other young kids as a stand-in to talk about her son, where he and Murillo just like keying in on that, and it's not lost on him at all. He gets it. He gets what she's doing. He understands the game she's playing, that she can't admit to herself that she actually cares for the boy, but she has to talk about it obliquely. Amazing. It's so perceptive about, like you said before, it's human.
Yeah.
It's human.
Yeah. And Murillo even sort of seeing the pain that she's doing, and him sort of in his inner mind to reviewing the steps that he's taken to try and find Harlow and figure that situation out. And even seeing Stani being like, I think you can just have the school. I'm like, done. And knowing that will be like one of the last threads of isolation that could lead her down a road that ends in suicide.
Yeah.
And even this whole conversation, he ends with this oblique conversation that's like sideways of the thing they're actually talking about. Him saying, I have one more thing I'm going to try. Yeah. And that just cutting to the heart of the thing that they're actually talking about. And then we just move on.
Incredible. It was harrowing to me to hear him talk about his like daily trips to the pits to look for little kid bodies.
And then
like sometimes finding them. It's not Harlow, but it's still a child's dead body.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Horrible.
And it's like Murillo, this you know,
Chooser.
yeah. Good man. Good man.
Mm.
Beautiful. Back to Cruel's bar. Picker is back, as we mentioned earlier, brought back to the bar. Catatonic, completely as predicted, lost contact with the real world. And Blend says, wrap her up. We're going to go find the eel.
A lot of people seem to suddenly know who the eel is.
Yeah.
The eel coming up as the eel a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if that's because Gano's figured it out. I don't know.
I wonder if it's just because maybe they know of the eel and they don't know it's Krupp, or maybe that it's just like an unspoken thing of like Krupp is Krupp until he's the eel and you need him.
Yeah. All right, that's the end of chapter 15. Chapter 16 starts with Calor coming face to face with an undead dragon. The undead dragon that we saw escape Hood's realm when the TTG accidentally let it out. This undead dragon shows up and Calor's like, am I gonna have to fight an undead dragon right now?
I like that he like literally wakes up and he's like, hello.
Yeah. He's like, I got no beef with you, buddy. Let's just both be cool. Let's be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a little history lesson where, Calor's been alive for millennia. So is the undead dragon. And they're both like relating things about the jagged armies who evidently went to war on a scale that is just dwarfs anything Calor's massive armies even did. A war against death itself, where I guess the dragons fought alongside the jagged. Mm-hmm. Pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But now the dragon dreams of a throne and is, I guess, going to serve the crippled god?
I guess.
I guess.
I was like, isn't Calor marching towards that one throne that we sort of saw before? Which is icy and sort of matches with the jagged. And then he's like, anyway, peace. Just kind of flies away. And I was like, I guess we'll see what happens later.
Well,
peace out, guys.
There's this really surprising to me moment at the end where Calor's like, Calor's really affected by that interaction. And he's like, I really had some misconceptions about things. I really had some assumptions about the history of the world that I have to reconcile, which I thought was interesting, that Calor is really like, man, interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. But in a way where I'm like, I will see.
Yeah.
Your moment of introspection will become clear to me why this matters. Is it just because the jagged were always seen as like tyrants and otherwise like sparse people? And so the idea of seeing the hordes and hordes of jagged would be like, what? Were there ever so many? Or that amount of power? Or I could see
I think it's all the above.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think it's all. I think you hit on it. I think he's like, man, I really had a misconception about the jagged and about dragons, perhaps too. Okay, then we have Endist also, doing his sort of ponderous strolls, and I really enjoyed this musing on the notion of purity. It really resonated with me. Some of the Endist stuff I find a little esoteric and hard to relate to because it's all about these, fantastic races and species and all this stuff. But I found this one very, very biting, very insightful, very, very resonant in that, he's like, purity sucks. Purity never works.
Yeah.
It's the melting pot. It's the mixture of these things that is progress. That's the only thing that ever works, is when the purity washes away and you get a little of this and a little of that. I thought, man, what a amazing observation. That purity is what leads to strife and this sort of need to maintain purity and strive for keeping the outside out. Yeah. Like, no, mix it together. The mixing is what works.
And embracing that. It's not even like the mixing to the idea of a solution of sameness. It is like just embracing the differences, embracing that thing. All things are not one thing.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I think he relates it to like creation, which I loved. But it's also interesting that he then says, shadow is a mixture, but it's a mixture that became savage and brutal. So it's like, well, it's not always positive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And also juxtaposing this notion of mixture and lack of purity with this looming threat of chaos, which is the novels seem to very much be positioning as the ultimate bad thing is chaos. It's like, well, chaos is sort of mixture, right? I don't know. I found all that stuff very thought-provoking.
Yeah, I really, I agree.
All right, then we check back inside Dragnipur with Absalara, who gets dragged out from under the wagon.
That's why it's called Dragnipur. That's why it's called Draconis.
I'm not called Stay Put Nippur.
Yeah, it's actually Dragonis. I'm dragging people. Draconis is just having a time, flex his muscles, dragging people around,
snapping necks
because he can. Snapping neck. I loved that. I love that scene. But he grabs Absalara and is like, I mean, I'm forgetting even what he talks about. I just remember him being like, "Hey, get on your feet," and her being like, "No," and like gathering all her chains and just going back and chilling out again.
He drags her out. He's like, "Hey, you're cool. Do you want to be part of my club?"
Oh yeah,
and she's like, "No, I want to be alone." He's like, "Oh, you suck."
That's what it is.
He's like, I'm doing cool stuff. Do you want to be part of the cool stuff crew? And she's like, no.
Will you swear yourself to me? How's your chain going? And she's like, bad, but now I'll just sit. Is that fine? He's like, whatever. I'm climbing the wagon. Such a funny little scene.
Yeah. One of my favorite descriptions that happens here, though, is how the people who are chained, like there's nobody ever, even if you die, you don't get out of it. I mean, you're dead already in Dragnipur, but even if you like can't go on and you
exhaust
expire
yourself, yeah,
it's not like we ever clean up the chains. We constantly add more chains to the wagon. And when you finally can't go on anymore and just collapse, the wagon, like you've been pulling this heavy wagon, thousands and thousands of horrible, chained souls are pulling the wagon, this heavy wagon of death. You finally can't do it anymore. You fall. The dragon rolls over you, and then you become part of the more things that everybody else has to carry.
Yeah.
It's such a perfect metaphor. It's such a perfect metaphor. It's like you were doing the carrying, and now you're part of the
weight, the burden.
The weight. Exactly.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway.
I love that in a way, Absalara sitting on the wagon then and pulling her chains up and resting them there. She's like not making herself part of the burden. I guess she is because she's sitting on the wagon. Psych. Take it back. Next. Next scene.
Anyway, but Draconis is like, chaos is coming. You know it's coming. Everybody knows it's coming. We're going to all get swept up in the chaos. You want to try to do something about it? And she's like, not with you. So, yeah. And she also kind of realizes, like, it's good that Anamander Rake is the one that has Dragnipur instead of this jackass.
Yeah. I like even inside the blade that killed you, you're like, probably the right guy's doing the right thing.
Probably for the best. Then Ditch wakes up, also on the wagon, on the top of the wagon.
Wakes up to a needle near his eye.
Yeah.
Just a little stab.
It's awkward awakening when it's like somebody's like tattooing you and it's like, oh, you're awake. Hang on a second. Almost done.
I love that Ditch is like, no. And he's like, I'm so close to being done, but you really got to hold still. It's so important. He's like, I'm not doing it. He's like, I'm going to call Dad. And he's like, do it then. And the fact that Draconis just climbs up, it's like so no nonsense. It's so emotionless, being like, I told you wouldn't want me to come back here. Grabs him again, drags him around, throws him back in the spot he was, and then just snaps his spinal cord. But you're already dead, so it's not like he's unconscious and now like just a corpse. He's like just fully paralyzed from the neck down. And it's just
like,
a lie there.
Did you just snap my neck, dude?
Yeah.
Dude, did you just what is wrong with you?
And it's just, he does it so clinically. It is like, all right, I told you, and then just leaves again. What a
Out.
What a guy!
Peace out.
What
Classic
a guy!
Draconis. Boom. You got Draconis.
You got Dracone.
Dracone. It's perfect. It's perfect. All right, then we check back in with the Nemander crew, who are walking through this abandoned village, the God's Walk Mountains, and basically, Clip is out in front, like, ugh.
No words, only
Just ugh.
Yes.
And there's this really awesome, I'm always so enamored by Erikson's little details, like his little throwaway details that are just like, oh, that could be a whole novel itself. And he just does it over and over and over again. Another one here with the children's story about the flesh stealers, who, like, when you see abandoned clothes on the side of the road, that's because the person was stolen away and they like left their clothes, their body was bamfed away. And Skin Tick is like, I don't even believe that. I think it's the wind. So cool. It was such a cool thing. But yeah, I mean, it's basically, Clip is a jerk. We get into Clip's POV and he's like, I hate all these guys. Why do I even hang out with them? They're lucky I saved them. And it's like, they saved you, you idiot.
It's like, they don't even know. They think they saved me. Ugh, they don't know anything. I wish I was hanging out with cooler people, but honestly, cooler people don't exist because I'm cool and I'm going to do great things for our people.
Yeah. And he's super into justice. He's like, I believe with the Leosons, like, justice above all, no compromises on the whole purity thing. We were just talking about purity, and he's like, excuses are just cowardice, and pity, it lets the criminals take advantage of you. If you give them any kind of compassion, they'll just, use it to evade the punishment. Clip's a jerk.
Yep. What a ween.
Total ween. All right. Then we have a scene that I felt like came out of complete nowhere for me. We have a scene with the High Priestess of Dark, who's having a crab feed.
Yeah, a crab boil.
Yeah.
Crawdad boil. Eating 24 lobster-sized crawdads.
Just getting at it. Look at the fish brought, or look at the boats brought in. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this scene was so interesting.
Yeah.
So the High Priestess, who we haven't met before, we have met before.
We have met before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this the one who was like,
this is the one
sex with them?
I don't know. This is the one that Spinnock went to and said, "Can you help Sir Doman?" And she's like, "No, the Redeemer does not kneel." So yeah.
Is this the one who what's his face said was in love with the other guy?
I don't know.
So many people are just called priestess.
I get the priestesses confused.
Anyway, so they're having their little coven feast, and they're like, "Look at us. We're like such a part of the problem. We're like everything in excess. We're like either starving and things are horrible, or now we've eaten all of the food. There's no more food, and now our like guts are bulging, and like we're gonna gain 50 pounds, and then we're gonna have the pain, and then we're gonna go back this pendulum swing in the other direction.
Moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips.
Exactly.
Baby. That's us. That's our motto.
And then so they're having their little vibe time, and then somebody comes down and is like, there's a guest here, and they're like, okay, send them in. And it is an super elderly overweight person who
Witch.
is a witch. Yeah. A mysterious witch,
Yeah.
and then cut off in the sentence, who's also in like so much pain, like joint pain, just like problems that come from being elderly and overweight, with 2 canes, and sits down at their table. And the high priestess sort of dismisses some of the sisters from the feast to go enjoy their tea and booze in the garden or wherever they go send her. And then there's just sort of like this bit of intrigue of the witch being like, "Hi, I'm the witch," and she's like, "Yeah, that's enough. I get it. We're here. We get it."
Yeah.
And then
she's like, "Let's save Celinde. Celinde's going
cuckoo
for Cocoa Puffs."
What I love about this scene is she tries to say what she thinks will jolt the high priestess into action. So what she says is not true. She's like, "Celinde, it's the Redeemer's cult has been corrupted, and I think that it could spread." And High Priestess is like, "All right, come with me. We're just going to take a little walk." And I was like, "Uh-oh, you in trouble." But she brings her around into like this even more sort of inner sort of sanctum zone of where they are. And the magics of the space, Ghislaine, sort of heals her and like in like heals her sort of wounds or her aches or her soreness, and sort of it gives her this relief because the priestess recognizes that she's going to die. She made this journey to try and deliver this news, and she didn't think that it was worth it for this woman to die delivering that news. And she also calls her out and being like, "I don't think you actually think it's going to spread, and we don't like when you try and manipulate us. We're not humans. You make a request, we're going to say yes or no, and that is the end of it, and that's fine. That is how things should work." And she's like, "Okay, can you help Celinde?" And she's like, "No."
I loved that. She's like, "Don't negotiate. Just ask. Just ask. You don't have to offer anything. We're not looking for reciprocity. Just ask." She's like, "Okay, can I?" No, there's no way. Yeah. It's so funny to me. It's like, it's just ask. What's the worst thing that could happen? She's like, no, there's no.
But like enabling her to sort of keep on whatever fight she's keeping on. I thought that it was such a great scene of just being, speak plainly. Also, now you're healed. Bye. And that's sort of the start and end of it. And it's very interesting to me because through this section, I have a bad habit sometimes of reading the top of a page, jumping to the bottom page, reading the bottom of the page, and then reading the middle. I don't know why I do that, but I do it all the time. And I kept like reading ahead a little bit and then coming back, and I sort of leapfrogged myself through reading this. And I kept reading chunks that sounded very threatening of the priestess being like, or the witch being like, "What did you do to me?" And I'd be like, "Oh, interesting." And then I'd go back and I'd be like, "Oh, she helped her." And then it would be like, "Well, why would you say this? We're not going to do these things to you." And then I'd read back and I'd be like, "Oh, she's just being like walking her through it." And it was like an interesting sort of it seemed like, I don't know, it was this chapter in particular, this section was a strange read for me, but I liked the whole section, and it just ended up feeling sort of weirdly mysterious for how she's like, "Just speak plainly and then get out of here." There's a sort of mystery infused in that space.
It was cool. And she's basically like, we're not going to do anything right now because there's no reason to do anything. They don't need our help. Celinde doesn't need our help. The Redeemer doesn't need our help. But we got to worry about Solana, the Alent, destroying this entire encampment.
Yeah.
And the witch is like, "Yes. What are those words?" She's like, "What's a Solana and what's an Alent?" And which I thought was so great. She's like, "Oh, yeah. You know that really creepy lady that stands at the top of the tower and stares at everybody all the time? That's Solana. Also, Alent means dragon. Easy peasy lemon squeezy."
Yeah, you get it. She's like, "I don't know the creepy. Oh, the dragon. That's a thing that's alive." It's like, so.
And she's a dragon? She turns into a dragon?
So good.
Very funny. All right. Then my favorite. It's hard. I have so many favorites in this novel. But whenever we jump back to Samar Dev and Karsa Orlong and the Traveler, I literally had that experience last night where I was reading this And I turned to the page and it said Samar Dev, and I was like,
Yes.
I'm gonna get cozier in my chair right now, and I'm just gonna read this because it's just such a treat. It's such a treat to go back with these guys.
I agree.
Karsa comes strolling back in like nothing happened after leaving to go fight the Hounds of Shadow, and she's like, "They're gonna murder you, idiot! They're gonna murder you!" And he just like strolls back like nothing, no scrapes, no blood, no nothing. And she's like, "I bet he just yelled at them and they were just
ran
scared
away.
of him."
Yeah, he's like, "There probably nothing happened because they were like, yay!"
I love Samar's POV so much because she's just so done with these idiots, these morons. She's forced to be around this. Like, I am sitting in this frat house.
These dude bros.
I do not want to hang out with these frat boys. And yet maybe I'll sleep with one of them, but I don't like them.
But like behind this like dumb dude bro exterior, there's like moments where he's like, you don't know every side of me. I could show you tenderness and you wouldn't
know. Why don't we get it on? She's like, oh yeah, that'll be great for me. You're going to treat me like the tenderness of a veteran. Yeah. And he's like, you don't know me, woman.
He's like, you think I can't?
I am capable of tenderness.
Milady. And her being like, huh? And he's like, and then he says like immediately like this moment of him being like, so we gonna bang? And she's like, no, you'd be bad. He's like, I could be so good to you. And she's like, what? And he's like, your mom. Like he immediately like ruins the moment. I forget what he says, but she's like, ugh. You almost had me, but then you didn't, and you'll never will. And she
it's what happens. She's like, you know what? All I want. She's like, I came here on your horse to deliver your horse, and what did I get? I'm filthy. I haven't showered in weeks.
Yeah,
I left a city that had running water. It had a sewer system. It had air conditioning.
Yeah,
central air and heat. It was great. And he's like, guess what? All that stuff sucks. He's like, yeah, people die because of that. It takes advantage of people. And she's like, oh, you are the worst. All I wanted was some comfort, even just the idea of comfort, and you have to ruin it.
Yeah.
It's just so perfect. Yeah. So perfect. And then our friend, the Undead Dragon, who, we find out what his motivation was, but as I was reading it, my headcanon was that he was just flying around and he sees them. He's like, potential friends.
Yeah, I've got that vibe too. Like, does he know that they're here, or is he just like, what's up? I've been with the dead people for so long.
Dude, I've been looking for somebody to hang out with. I saw that other old dude and I landed next to him and he was like, maybe we fight, and we had to talk about old times and it sucked. And now I want to just hang out with cool people. Are you guys cool?
You guys down to clown? What's up? Campfire? Ooh, I got some marshmallows.
Yeah, let's do this. I've been looking for you guys. Yeah. That's not actually what happened, but it felt like that. Because he just, the Undead Dragon assembles into a person called Tulis Shorn, who I love how the whole time Karsa is calling him it. Mm-hmm. It's here. And then Tulis, in his own POV next, is referring to himself as a him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Tulis knows some stuff. He walks up and he's like, hey, Samar, you're a witch, right? You're a priestess of burn. And she's like, I'm a what now? Of who?
She's like, okay, I know. It's like that title's wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know why people say that, but no. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you don't use warrens. You're not like accidentally pulling alien things into our world. And I was like, oh, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And she's like, you are of the land, of the sea, of the, of nature. And she's like, well, that's true. And he's like, that means you're of burn. And burn dreams of you. And she's like, burn what? Like, yeah, because there's death in dreaming. I was like, you're kind of a lot, Tulis.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Traveler and Karsa are like, all right, we're killing. And Samar's like, no. It's fine. Even if these two Chumbawambas aren't welcome, you come hang out by the campfire. We'll chat about it. Everybody chill out.
I officially welcome you, Tulis.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she welcomed him. All right, let's do this.
Yeah. So they have their little chat where Tulis basically like calls her out for like things that may be hidden just from her. Maybe she has just been hiding or just keeping close to the chest. I don't think she's been actively hiding things in
Yeah.
like a super secretive way. And then they're like, anyway, and they all go to bed and they wake up and it's like, well, I ate our horses. So, fool me once, shame on me.
Yeah, it's so great. I was like, I'm welcoming you. These idiots wanted to kill you. They said you're bad news. I'm welcoming you. Let's hang out. It's cool. She wakes up. Oh man, I was so wrong.
Yeah.
He was bad news. He
Yeah.
took our horses.
Well,
but Carson's like, it's okay, babe. It's cool.
yeah.
I'll go find some more horses for us.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Chill. You can ride with me.
Here's the thing I didn't understand about this scene. You have something else first?
No.
Okay.
That was me intrigued.
I believe this is the same undead dragon that we've been seeing, right? The same undead dragon that saw Calor, right?
Oh, the same one that saw Calor. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Calor scene, there was some implication that this undead dragon was going to go work for the cripple god. He's down with the cripple god. But in this scene, he's like, hey, Samar Dev, cripple god is poisoning Burn. Are you going to stop it? We need you to stop it. That felt like cross purposes, but maybe I'm missing something.
I think that to me, I'm like, this guy's just like, ugh. I put him in the same realm as the old Corpse on the Island. I think Corpse on the Island is more overtly working for Hood. And this guy seems like it more of a true escape of the realm and just saw his opportunity and took it. But I have no idea his allegiances. He seems, because he took their horses to slow them down from getting where they're going, which I think
so maybe he was
on the
pretending to be cool.
Yeah. Well, I think he still seems like a little undead sweetie.
I don't know.
Because he didn't kill the horses. He was like, I'm not going to kill an innocent creature.
Well, but what we find out about him in the next moment in his little POV scene is he's like animal husbandry. He loves all creatures, big and small. And in fact, everybody, all his old friends, wouldn't let him play any reindeer games. They would make fun of him because he was too soft on the animals. And he was the OG master of the hounds.
Oh yeah, he's like, where my puppy dogs at?
That's why he's a big deal, because he's the guy that turned the puppies into hounds.
Yeah.
And I think that's retroactively why we know he landed and talked to them, because he must have peeped Karsa interacting with the hounds, and he's like, oh, I got to go talk to those kids. That was my reading of it.
I thought he was landing because he sensed Samar was clearly like, Samar, you the lady, peace. And then he sensed the dogs because they happened to be near. I didn't necessarily think that he talked with them to get a sense of Karsa or like to sense that the dogs were near them.
Maybe I'm reading into it too much. I felt like Karsa went to see the hounds. He's all about the hounds, and then he finds out the hounds are actually nearby, and he's like, I'm gonna go see those hounds. I hope they remember me. I raised them.
Those my babies. My babies.
All right. So then we're back to Gruntle in just a spectacularly awesome scene. I mean, I almost picked this entire section as my thing. It is so beautifully, spectacularly, thrillingly articulated. The just utter chaos and terror of hanging on to the TTG wagon through Mael's realm.
Awesome.
Incredible.
It's like describing the sight of like, if you were like watching, you'd be like, well, there's a bunch of water and that's a carriage and people holding on for dear life as swell over swell racing through the water. And then this wave, like this tidal thing coming up behind them as they're like looking forward and they're like, obviously we're going to be fine. There's these giant cliffs ahead of us that we are threatening to smash right into, but we're just trusting that these horses can run straight vertical. We're just got,
Well-
what else are we going to do? What else are we going to do other than cling for dear life and keep your eyes closed for a sweet death or just the safety randomly?
I love how much Gruntle hates it. How he's like, I was supposed to die in battle, in glory, like screaming at seeing my murderer's face, and I'm gonna die like this is worse than dying from some disease. Like this is the worst way to go. I'm gonna drown on a wagon in the middle of the sea.
I'm gonna open my eyes for 1 second, and one of these other shareholders is gonna be like, "This is what we do."
Dude, so rad. Fate's like, are you loving this or what? And he's like, no, this is insanity. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And he like pushes her forehead away. Just like, this is what we did. We've done worse. This is it, baby. Woo! Ride the lightning.
And him just being like, I'm pretty sure everybody's saying we've done worse. It's just the catch-all sentence that they'll say no matter what. Is it true? How else do you stay sane?
But what a great catchphrase. We've done worse. Like it's never as bad as what we've done in the past. Like what a great like aphorism for staying positive. You know, I love that. Mm-hmm. And then yes, before we get to the cliff thing, which you're so right was awesome. It's even better is we have this moment where we check in on Glano Tarp's POV, which again, you know how much I love malapropisms, and Glano Park's malapropisms like seep into the POV descriptions, which is chef's kiss. But also the revelation that like everybody thinks Recanto Ilk has bad eyesight. Secretly, I have terrible eyesight, but I don't tell anybody. And I'm the driver of the wagon, and I can't see 10 feet in front of me. I just guess on which direction we're going to drive.
It's like the important skill to learn is trying to identify how fast something is moving at you from the blurry shapes.
Brilliant. That is how batshit this entire endeavor is. The driver is secretly
semi-blind,
completely incapable of driving. Just like, woo!
It makes you be like, does it need to be this crazy? Or is it because he can't see?
Well,
could
it's
there
just
be like 10% normalcy to their job here, or what?
Well, it is, you know, it's the people who sign up for this thing are just bonkers.
Yeah.
Like you have to, in order to be in the TTG, you have to be a certain kind of person. And that's the kind of person they got.
Yeah. Big time.
So great. Anyway, the water does swell and rise them up big enough to get it to the top of this cliff where there's a
town
pub.
Yeah. My assumption here is that Mail saw that and helped him out. They're going to hit the cliff. Suddenly a big swells them up, puts them up, and lands them on top of the cliff. Come on.
I like that. Well, with this little moment of like inside this tavern with a bunch of crazy alien types with tusks and blue skin and like all non-human weirdos, and one of them goes, "Not again."
Yeah.
Just crazy. And then we cut to like them all just like drink, they spill out of this thing.
No, I love the townsfolk looking around. Glano has like smoke. They land and the carriage lands and it starts dragging, but the wheels all snap off and the wheels go flying past them because they're still rolling. The carriage is dragging. The driver's bench just snaps off, so it's just Glano on the bench with the horses, who run him into a low wall, smash that bench, so he's flying. The horses are running around in a circle. He lands in a pile of horse excrement and horse urine puddle that
which literally saves his life,
but otherwise his dislocated shoulders and both of his broken legs, like he's totally messed up. Cut back to the carriage that Mappo and whoever else is inside opening up and just spilling water out the side of the carriage as it's on land. Awesome. If
I could have one sequence animated this might be my choice. You know, what a just delightful chaos.
Yeah. Beauty.
Amazing. And then we cut to them just like in the tavern, Nancy and Bull talking in their normal ridiculous banter. And Gruntle and Mappo make eye contact and they're like, uh-oh, something's coming that's not a storm.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. End of chapter.
Well, yeah, we had one brief cutaway to some tower where they're like, oh my God, something's happening. And then some kind of lizard witches just start screaming from downstairs.
Yes, right.
So they're just like yelling, ah, like whatever. And their voices, I think, are the cacophony of the storm that they think they hear in the other room. And so mysterious ending. Can't wait for next week already.
I'm in love with Toll the Hounds.
It's great. It's book good. Book good.
All right, we're already running long, but we got a couple of quotes, our favorite quotes from these sections.
Mm-hmm. I've got 2.
Okay, I have, I think 3. But I have a real short one. That's not even a full sentence. I'll start with that. It's not even a full sentence. I just love this turn of phrase. Where is it? Hang on. Oh, here it is. He says, nothing really ever changes unless in service to convenience. I love that. Mm-hmm. It's so true. Nothing ever really changes unless in service to convenience.
Yeah.
We lazy.
Human nature, baby.
Yeah.
My first favorite section is right at the very beginning of chapter 15. Bainisk and Harlow. Bainisk was still in the sheltered core of his being a child. Ungainly with growth, yes, awkward in a body with which he had not yet caught up, but he had yet to surrender his love of the unknown. And so it should be wholly understandable that he and young Harlow should have shared the spark of delight and wonder, the kind that wove tight between them so that not even the occasional snarl could truly sever the binding. In the week following that fateful tear in the trust between them, Harlow had come to believe that he was once more truly alone in the world. Wounds scabbed over and scabs fell away to reveal faint scars that soon faded almost out of existence, and the boy worked on, crawling to fissures, scratching his way along the fetid, gritty cracks in the deep rock. Choking at times on bad air, stung by blind centipedes and nipped by translucent spiders. Bruised by shifting stones, his eyes wide in the darkness as he searched out the glitter of ore on canted, close walls. At week's end, however, Bainisk was with him once more, passing him a jug of silty lake water as he backed out of a fissure and sat down on the warm, dry stone of the tunnel floor. And in this brief shared moment, the tear slowly began to heal, re-knitted in the evasiveness of their eyes that would not yet lock on to the reality of their sitting side by side. Far beneath the world's surface, the two beating hearts that echoed naught but each other. And this is how young boys made amends, without words, with spare gestures that in their rarity acquired all the necessary significance. When Harlow was done drinking, he passed back the jug.
I mean, come on. So good. And it's so true. Like, you're little kids, you know? Okay, we're best friends again.
Yeah, they're mad.
You're not my best friend anymore. We're best friends again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. So great. I like this one. I don't even remember where it comes from, but here we go. All breaks in the narrative of living had more to do with the limits of what could be sustained at any one time, the reach of temporary exhaustion. Memory did not let go. It remained the net dragged in one's wake, with all sorts of strange things snarled in the knotted strands.
Beauty.
So good. So good.
My last quote this week is that section with Raced after Picker and Antsy show up. And they're talking about how they could get in touch with Gaduz Paran. One possibility occurs to me, Raced said. It would, I suspect, require that one of you be an adept with the deck of dragons, or possessing the potential thereof. I see, said Picker. Well, I've had a few brushes with the deck. You're an illustrator of decks? What? No, not that kind of brush. I mean, I've had my hands on them a few times. Did such contact leave you damaged, Corporal Picker? Damaged how? Are you perhaps now insane? She sat upright. Hang on, how in Hood's name would I even know if I was insane or not? Precisely, said Raced, and waited. Nancy's gaze fixed once more upon the jagged. Pick, he finally growled. She twisted to face him in exasperation. What is it now, Ancy? This bastard's having us on. Her eyes bulged momentarily, and she looked once more at the jagged, who shrugged. One needs to amuse oneself on occasion. Company is so very rare these days. So when it arrives, Ancy snapped, you treat it like dirt? Do you think there's maybe a connection atwixt the two, you hoary lich? Like dirt? I think not. More like with amiable contempt. You've got a few things to learn about people, Jagged. Undoubtedly, Sergeant Ancy. Alas, I find myself disinclined to make any effort in that direction.
Yeah, I got a lot to learn. I don't care about it.
Oh, so you're great. A big jerk to people and you don't really have company? I wonder if there's a connection there, you friggin' jerk.
It's like, yeah, probably. Anyway, who cares? All right, I actually have two more. I'll do them quickly, but I love this. I love this one. Some thoughts, possessing a frightening kind of self-awareness, knew to hide deep beneath others, riding unseen the same currents where they could grow unchallenged, unexposed by any horrified recognition. One could always sense them, of course, but that was not the same as slashing through all the obfuscation, revealing them bared to the harsh light, and so seeing them wither into dust. The mind ran its own shell game, ever amused at its own sleight of hand misdirection. In truth, this was how one tended to live from moment to moment, with the endless exchange of denials and deference and quick winks in the mirror, even as inner proclamations and avowals thundered with false willpower and posturing conviction.
I love that one too. I love
that one. So good. It's like, yeah. And then it's all about Chalice, like looking in the mirror and like, she's thinking this one thing, but what she's really thinking is the thing she won't even admit to herself she's thinking. Mm-hmm. That's how thoughts work.
Yep.
All right. And then this one, a little too close to home for me personally. Many adults in the indurated immobility of years acquire a fear of places they have never been, even as they long for something different in their lives, something new. But this new thing is a world of the fantastical, formless in answer to vague longings, and is as much defined by absence as presence. It is a conjuration of emotions and wishful imaginings, which may or may not possess a specific geography. Achieving such a place demands a succession of breaks with one's present situation, always a traumatic endeavor. And upon completion, why, sudden comes the fear. That is me moving to Denver from Los Angeles. So, it's like, I want to go someplace new. It's scary.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
But good.
Book good. Thanks, folks, for reading along with us. 2 more chapters next week. Please do continue to send in those topics. We'll see you then. Have fun dancing.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages and start by your fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the